Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon and a very warm welcome to SZABIST University Karachi campus. Today we have a few officials from British High Commission to brief you about the Chevening scholarship. This is a great opportunity for the students, people who want to pursue their masters in the UK. This is a fully funded program. So I must say you should have to avail this opportunity. The people who are here from the British High Commission are Tom Hyde, Deputy Head of Communication, Rina Salman, Chevening Engagement Officer, Shahryar Mirza, Head of International Communication. Now I would like to request Mr. Tom Hyde to come up on the stage and just brief about the Chevening Scholarship.
Thank you very much for that kind introduction. It's absolutely great to be here with you this afternoon. I'm sorry if we've kept you waiting, but what I'm going to try and do now for the next 5 minutes is sell Chevening to you and try and get you interested in applying for our scholarship program. So before I start for the next 5 minutes, can I get a show of hands on who amongst you has heard of Chevening before, or if anyone's even applied for Chevening before? Heard. Okay, a couple of people applied there. Okay, that's great. So, hopefully at the end of this presentation, a lot more of you will apply, and we'll see some of you for interviews next year. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and sell it to you for the next 5 minutes, and then I'm going to hand over to my colleague Sherry, who's going to go over the technical aspects of the application process. Okay, just to put you in the best position possible for when you do your applications, which need to be done soon, but we'll talk about the timings in a minute. So what is Chevening? We'll start with the what is it. So it's our international scholarship program. It's fully funded by the UK government. It's aimed at future leaders who are going to make change in their home countries. And it's specifically for 1 year taught master's degree programs back in the UK. Okay? And when you go to the UK to do your master's degree, there's an expectation after your year of study, you come back to Pakistan or your home country, and then you give back for at least 2 years before you go overseas again. Okay? We call it brain gain rather than brain drain. The whole point is to have impact back here in Pakistan for the Pakistan Country Programme. Okay? So that is, in a nutshell, what Chevening is. I always get a few QAs, so I'll start answering them as well as some specifics. So people say to me, is there any kind of limitations on what I can study? Well, the answer is no. Pretty much any subject you can think of that a university in the UK offers, you can study, okay? And again, most universities in the UK are covered as well, so it's about 98% of them, okay? And the best way to check if you are eligible, or you've got a course that's eligible for the Chevening Award, is to go on the Chevening website, www.chevening.org, and if you type in your subject field, all the eligible courses will come up, as well as the universities. Okay, so that's the normal, most frequent question I get. The second most frequent question I get is there an age limit? Well, the answer is no, there is not an age limit. Last year we had someone who was 55 go back to the UK to do a master's degree. And it's all about change, as I said. It doesn't matter where you are in your career, but it's all about change and how you display leadership when you come back to Pakistan, okay? And then the third one I get question is on the eligibility criteria. So the main 2 points are that you have to have an undergraduate degree and you have to have 2 years of work experience. Now people get wrapped around the axle on the work experience element. So people get wrapped around the axle a little bit on the work experience element. It can be paid work, but it can also be voluntary work, okay? So if you're doing your undergraduate courses at the moment, you can start working up your hours. It's about 2,800 worth of hours that you need to have accumulated in either voluntary work or paid employment. But you have to have an undergraduate degree. You also have to be a Pakistani national. You don't have to be here in Pakistan, but you have to be a Pakistani national to go through the Pakistan Country Programme. And also, if you've been a recipient of other UK aid scholarship money, then that can prohibit you as well from applying. But those are the main set of criteria. Okay? So who are we looking for to do the scholarship? So as I said before, leaders, people who are going to create change in Pakistan. It's the most important thing. But I want to stress it is open to everyone. We are committed to diversity for the programme. So for the last 3 years in a row, over 50% of the scholars that we've sent back to the UK have been women. And this year we had 2 Hindu scholars go back to the UK, and also for the first time a trans scholar going back to the UK. We really are open to everybody, so please don't doubt yourself or think about your background. We really want the best talent from all areas of society, as well as all over the country. And that's partly why we're down here in Karachi. I'm normally in SZABIST, but we're getting the word out as widely as possible, okay? So who we're looking for, very wide, all about leadership. Now moving to the final bit of the sales pitch, which is why should you apply? Well, first of all, the financial element. This is quite a generous scheme. So the tuition fees are paid for you. The flights to and from the UK are paid for. And you're also giving a living stipend to help you pay for food, etc., whilst you're in the UK. Okay? So your financial aspects are all covered by the scholarship programme. So that's a key thing. And then the second key point is you become part of an incredibly wide network. So we have 55,000 Chevening alumni globally. We have 2,000 of them within Pakistan. These are movers, shakers, people who've made huge impacts on the world. So of our 55,000 alumni, we've got 9 former heads of state who we class as part of it. It's a prestigious scholarship, and to get it, you have had to be in a heck of a lot of people. So everywhere from Pakistan, 6,000 people apply roughly, and we have between 55 and 60 slots. But don't let that put you off. If you can demonstrate leadership potential, then you're in for a real shot, okay? So that's the kind of general sales pitch. I would note that this is a very special year for Chevening. We're marking our 40th anniversary. That's 40 years of delivering education outputs and rewarding excellence. But we're also now expanding our offer. Shay's going to go into more technical details, but we have signed 2 new partnership pathways. So another one with Swindon Town Football Club, football being a kind of growth industry in Pakistan for sports, so that's for a football coach to go back to the UK. And we've also signed a new agreement with the University of Essex that focuses on giving 2 slots to either students engaged with climate change or with museum curation and cultural heritage protection. Okay, but Shay's going to go into a bit more details on the application process for those. Those are very unique pathways. Don't think that you don't want to study them, you're not eligible for the rest of Chevening, because 55 to 60 slots are for any kind of subject that you can think of that you're interested in, whether it be from fashion, journalism, or any of the sciences. Okay? So I hope I've piqued your interest, and I hope we see some applications. The deadline is the 7th of November, so you've only got about 3 weeks to get your applications in. And when you're doing your applications, remember when you go through the Chevening portal, which is www.chevening.org, and you apply for the scholarships, and you've got to put down 3 courses that you want to do, at the same time as doing that, you have to also apply individually for each of the universities that you're applying for. But the deadline, I repeat again, is the 7th of November, so you've got a 3-week kind of window open before it closes. Okay, without further ado, I'll now hand over to Sherry, who will go through the technical aspects of the application process. But thank you, and I'll be here for the Q&As at the end.
Hello, everyone. So, business administration, how many people are in business administration? Okay. Any show of hands? Okay. Sciences? A lot of sciences? Yeah, good stuff. Okay, it's important to get the read the room and go with the. So a few things I think Tom has taken you through, many of the requirements. A couple of refreshers I think are important. So just make sure that you take notes as we go along, and we will also leave the presentation towards, with the scholars here. So on the eligibility criteria, as Tom mentioned, you can read some of these criteria. It's very important that you fully understand this and fulfill this. So an undergraduate degree is important. A lot of people have asked us that, for example, we're in the final year and we haven't completed our degree, but as per the UK system, you need to have the degree with you. So for those people who are perhaps in their final year, keep following Chevening on social media and the website so that you can prepare next year, inshallah, as the slots open up. So it's very important for you to understand that. Also, the 2 years work experience, it's a bit gray when people talk about work experience. Now, a lot of mid-career professionals do not have that problem. 2 years experience, they have much more. But then there are also students who have done some voluntary work, for example, some internships, or perhaps are running some of their own initiatives. So it's very important for you to also be able to justify. Initially, they will not ask you for documentation straight away. When you apply for Chevening, they're not going to start saying attestations, what did they call. But at the same time, you should have all this sorted, and as well as in your personal statement, it gives you a chance. So has anyone ever filled out a scholarship application form where you have to write this really nice personal statement? Has anyone ever done? Good. So it's really your opportunity to express, in a few hundred words, really what your story is and what your journey is. So I think I would stress that you talk about this experience and justify it in line with what you're applying for. I think it's a little slow. Okay, Tom may have taken you through this already, but it's important to know that your scholarship covers your allowances, your travel, and your tuition fees. There is a small disclaimer when it comes to business administration masters. He spoke about fully funded, there is a cap on business courses where there is an individual contribution. That if there is a difference, for example, there is a cap for 22,000 for business related. For the rest, that's not a problem. But just on that, the difference can be borne by the applicant. So just something like that. Yeah. So scholarship has no benefits, and I think Tom talked about some of them which go beyond the academic realm. But it's also important to know that comes back to the whole community. There is a 2,000 plus strong family community in Pakistan alone. And most of them are very high achievers and leaders in both the public and private sector. Globally, as Tom mentioned, 55,000 strong. So it's really important that once you come back from the UK and start serving in Pakistan, you are part of this network, so it's really something special. It has many benefits that are part of any global network. So, yeah. Some of the opportunities we've seen, those also come from your own personal networking skills, or internship opportunities, for example, with civil services, and some other really important opportunities. These stay with you. In the UK, if you make those kind of strong relationships, I think will stay with you, and they make your career so much easier. So now we come to the real sort of meat and potatoes when it comes to the application process. So every year 55 to 60 slots are available, and on average you have 6,000 applicants. So statistically, if you do the math, you have to really shine during the application process. Because when you're long-listed by a firm, they don't have the luxury of seeing you or having spent time with you. So really, you demonstrate yourself as a leader or leader, but also a future leader, because Chevening is about change makers. Sure, at some point you get to an interview process where you get to see on camera, but that's fine. It's right now the journey starts with you, grounding yourself and framing a narrative that shows really with clear examples. So for example, even if you worked at a charity, some NGOs, whatever you think is, and it's in line with your story, make sure that you set very, very clear examples. Also, you have to show some experience in your personality, how you are a networker, how you have been able to, for example, mobilize something, perhaps someone has a passion project in singing, Balochistan, where you've been able to. So it's important to make sure that the expectation is that you go out there and network, and the learning community is really a part of that conversation. With that, I'll move on to studying in the UK. What Chevening is looking for is in applicants, they want to see what your vision is. If you study in the UK, it's very important to know that everything is aligned with the courses that you sort of selected. So make sure that if there are 3 courses, and that's compulsory, you have to apply through the portal for 3 courses. But those 3 courses are very, very much aligned with your vision and also with the personal statement that you've written. So of course, if you have a business background, if you have a science background, make sure that the courses align with that, otherwise it may reduce your chances. Also something that we've talked about is that depending on your GPA, it's always a small idea to perhaps, everyone perhaps wants to go to Oxford or Cambridge, right? But the thing is, it also depends on your GPA, that if you have the opportunity to apply to 3 courses, you might want to go for a university that has a slightly middle criteria or slightly lower criteria, so it's important to know. And once you're in the portal, you can also go to Oxford or Cambridge requirements. But the thing is, it depends on these GPA each course has. So that will also be able to come to later. A university that has a slightly, perhaps the most important part is it's not the local because it's important to sell yourself once you're in the portal career, you get to see all the requirements. You've articulated this so well. It also, each course has, not only stands to develop you as an individual, but also as the most important part is as someone who will able to convince and sell yourself an expectation. Your career requirement is that once you've done what you've articulated is so well, so it also in Pakistan not only stands to develop you as an individual, if you want to move abroad, whatever, but most people that we've seen, they come back, they're very in high places in Pakistan, and the expectation that it's important to know that once you've done that when you're master's, how do you stand to benefit from 2 years and give back? So the Chevening is looking for those things. So just make sure that you keep all these figures in mind. Most people that we've seen, they come back, they're very in high places in Pakistan. So we're very happy to announce that this year we've signed an MOU with 2 private entities, UK-based entities. Each year, of course, we have 55 to 60 slots, but Pakistan, we have so much talent, mashallah. It's very important to know that this year we've signed 2 MOUs. So the first is with Swindon Town Football Club. So are there any football fans in the room? Okay. Football fans, maybe? Sure. And this particular thing I'll talk about, but before I move on, I'll also talk about Essex University. Essex University, people have heard of? So we've also signed a very, very exciting memorandum with them. So first I'll talk about the Swindon Town partnership. And in case you think this is not for you, make sure that you spread the word. We have some pamphlets also that we'll leave with you. If you know someone who's into this football coaching, which I'll talk about, then make sure that you spread the word. But football coaching, we were in Lari a couple of days ago and we saw so much talent, Yeah. So, swimming time, we've got basically, we've got one slot with swimming time football club. Now, swimming time is a football. Yeah. So, swimming time, we've got basically. We've got one slot, but also swimming time football club. Now, swimming time is a football club based in the UK. They also have a presence here in Karachi. As per this scholarship, one lucky Pakistani gets to go to the UK, again fully funded, same criteria, but then comes back as a almost a trained football coach, and then you get to really improve, the quality of wasting the opportunity in terms of looking at football as a huge industry. So I think we all agree that football is growing in popularity. So this is a really big opportunity, and that's done in partnership with two universities that you see right here, and they're also written in the pamphlet. There is the Solent University, and there's also the University campus of Football Business, Wembley Stadium. For those of you who may be interested, you just have to make sure that when you go to chevening.org, just make sure that you select these two universities, and you have the respective course written next to it, football sciences or football coaching. And then additionally, you make sure that you also sign up for a third course. So that makes you eligible. So you have to sign up. Now the thing is that statistically, this pool of applicants will be smaller than the general application. I told you that every year there's 6,000 applications, which is for general. And when I say general, it means everything from fashion design to psychology to geography to you name it. And of course, a lot of the science and business people. So this particular pool, if you apply, there's a good chance that you will get into either Solent or the other one that I mentioned. And also the third one is also giving you a chance to sort of, you still get a chance to apply for the general pool. So I think it's a win-win situation. And for those of you who are interested, you should definitely look into this. All right, there was a bit of a delay there, apologies. Maybe it's just technology, I don't know. So let's talk about Chevening, the Essex partnership. Won't take very long with this, but is anyone passionate about climate change and environment in this room? Climate change, okay, great. So this is a really good opportunity for applicants. First of all, there are 2 slots. So this scholarship has a total of 2 slots in either climate change sustainability or museum and heritage studies. So if you can see on the slide, these are the courses that are being offered. There's an MA in heritage and museum studies and an MA in curating for those who are passionate about heritage and museum studies. And then there's climate change and sustainability. There's an MA, MSc in environment, society and culture, MA, MSc environmental futures and climate change, MSc in marine science and sustainable development. And again, to apply, you have to go, and it might sound a little complicated right now, but if you go to chevening.org, you just have to make sure that you apply under Essex University. And again, just make sure that you just stop apply before 7th November. I think it's very important to know that the deadline is 7th November. We did get one question yesterday about some gentleman asked about additional qualifications. For example, some of these universities may require IELTS or may require some English proficiency certificate. So I again urge you to, when you do your research on the website, make sure that whatever requirement is there in the university, you fulfill that, because if you start today, and perhaps, inshallah, you can make sure that you apply for it. 7 November is the deadline, and it's very important to then start following this website. And there are a few more social media assets that you can leverage. So on social media, if you start following Chevening today, you'll get a lot of signups, a lot of alerts. But yeah, most of you are on Instagram, so make sure Facebook, Instagram, and X, you start following Chevening, and just make sure if you can apply before 7 November, that would be fantastic. I'm sure there are some really interesting questions. And with that, I would like to move to the Q&A session. Ready to open the floor for questions. Tom and myself will be more than happy to answer any of your questions. Thank you. Apply before 7 November, that would be fantastic. I'm sure there are some really interesting questions.
Do we have any questions from anyone?
With that, I would like to move to the Q&A session. Ready to open the floor for questions.
Good afternoon, sir.
Tom and
Thank you so
myself will
much
be
for
more
such
than
an
happy
informative
to answer any of your questions. Thank you.
Okay. I have two questions. As you, sir said that we need to
have
take different
any
universities
questions
for the
from anyone?
requirements. If some university has language requirements, so we have a very short time for the application. So won't it affect, like, if we get a slot by the end for the language test?
So the most important thing is you've got to remember that you're applying for two separate things, right? So you're applying for the Chevening Scholarship,
Yes.
which is applying through that pathway,
If some
and then you're
university
applying
has
as well to
language
the individual
requirements, so we have a very
universities,
short
right?
time for the
So
application.
the 7th of
won't it
November
affect, like,
deadline is
if we get a
for
slot by
the
the
Chevening
end
Scholarship
for the language
Programme. As we said before,
test?
there's no English requirement with that. That's directed by the universities. So you'll need to check with the individual universities on what their deadlines of application are, okay? I suggest you do go and leave it to last minute and you get going with it simultaneously with your Chevening application. But there's an understanding that things might not marry up exactly. So for example, by the time you get called through to interview, if you're shortlisted and interviewed, you might not yet have the offer from your university, right? So we get that the timescales are slightly different, but we suggest applying for both at the earliest opportunity.
Because there was one more thing mentioned on the slides that we need unconditional letter from the universities before the application. So I just had a query, or you can say a challenging situation of 3 weeks time for the application. So do we get very quick replies from the universities for the letter before we apply for the scholarship?
Sorry, I'll just answer this question. So this requirement is before the interview. So right now the deadline is just for the application process.
Okay.
But that requirement fulfills when you appear for the interview.
Okay.
You need to have fulfilled that requirement.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Hi. My question is, the eligibility factor said that you need an undergrad, which I understand, but do you just need an undergrad or do you need 16 years of education?
It's an undergraduate degree.
Which means if somebody who did if their undergrad was 2 years and then they went for their masters in another 2 years, and so altogether it makes 16 years, but the undergrad itself was not 4 years.
Yeah, so we're kind of marrying up different systems here because you've already got an MA
So
already
altogether
from
it
your
makes
previous
16
work,
years,
then
but
you
the
can
undergrad
qualify
itself
because you've
was
done
not
postgraduate work
4
already.
years.
But in the UK university system,
we're kind of marrying
if you apply for a degree, your master's degree, the normal kind of standard requirement is an undergraduate degree qualified because you've done at least a 2-2 already. And I get that's a UK grading system, and it's different across the world, but it's the equivalent of having an undergraduate degree. An undergraduate degree. So if you've got an undergraduate degree and your master's already, that's in your default system, and it's different across the world. You're eligible, right?
Would be, right?
Yes, you would be. Because you've got a master's degree already, so you've already done your undergraduate to get that. So you would be eligible. Your master's already, then you're by default applicable. You're eligible, right?
That would be, right?
Yes, you would be, because you've got a master's degree already. Study silence. Any other questions?
Yes, go on. Thank you so much for the explanation. I just had one question in terms of, since there are a lot of alumni as well, right? A lot of students have done their masters as well within the university. So if any one of the students who have already done their masters and they are like sorting out for opportunity abroad, so is it open for them as well? Like, it's going to be a double masters thing?
You don't have, it doesn't matter how many master's degrees you've got. If you want to do another master's degree, then that's perfectly fine.
Okay, so there's another thing in the process, like let's say we have applied for the scholarship, and many times I believe you have to go to all universities and apply for them as well. And in the meantime, we have to take an IELTS process too. Is there a hardcore and band requirement for this?
Sorry, I didn't.
Okay, the question is in terms of IELTS.
Yes, so that's, you've got to check with the individual universities on what the English language levels are. They set as their requirement.
Okay.
So you need to check with the individual universities that you're applying for, and that will be part of the process of your applications to them. It's not part of the main Chevening scholarship pathway, right? Because as I said before, you apply for the portal for the scholarship, and you apply separately to the universities that you're applying for.
Okay, now it's clear, because the two separate things, like going for the university and applying for the scholarship, are two entirely different things.
Yeah.
Perfectly fine, thank you.
Great.
Hi, I had a British Council scholarship 3 years ago. Will I still be able to apply for it?
That sounds to me like you're ineligible, unfortunately, because if you've received UK government funding to do any kind of postgraduate or scholarship back in the UK, then that normally counts you out. However, I'm more than happy to look at what you did receive, and we can double check exactly whether you fall out the requirement or not.
I received a £1,000 scholarship to go and attend a conference 3 years ago.
Okay, that sounds like a grey area, and it might not be linked specifically to education, so let's have a look into your specific case, and then we can get back to you.
All right, thank you.
Great. Okay, well, if there are no further questions, then I'll just reiterate the... Yeah, in any subject that you want. So any university in the UK, and you can do any master's degree in logistics. You're eligible for, it's pretty much 98% of master's degrees that are on offer from UK universities are eligible for Chevening. But the best way to check is to go on chevening.org and you type in your subject in the search function of the website, and then they'll all come up and be listed, and it'll tell you what universities as well, and then you know exactly what falls under the scope of funding for Chevening and what doesn't. The logistics will definitely be on there.
Experience which was required, that should be after the undergrad degree. It can be if the student is studying.
You can do it whilst you're doing your undergraduate degree. If you're working, if you're doing an internship or you're doing voluntary work, and you can show and justify that you've accumulated 2,800 hours worth of work, then that's fine. So it's basically, a lot of people confuse sometimes their hobbies for work. That's something that you don't want to get questioned on. So it's basically, if it's work like an internship or it's voluntary work, then there's no reason why you shouldn't count those hours and then make you eligible.
And one more thing, if a person has started his own venture while studying undergrad degree, so that will be countable?
Well, it depends on what the venture was and how many hours you could justify having done it, right? So it's a grey area because I obviously don't know what you're doing day to day, nor with the interview panel, right? But the issue is going to be if you get questioned on it and then it becomes apparent that this isn't a huge venture or it's not a proper business, then that's going to impact on your credibility, right, whilst you're doing the interview. So you've got to be able to evidence it and justify it.
Thank you.
I mean, it is all on the website, but it's literally everything. Like anything you can imagine is on there, from logistics to fashion to architecture to specialists in medicine. It's everything. Yeah.
I have a question. If any of the candidate has applied for the Chevening scholarship, and let's suppose if the university replies later, then what happens?
So if the university...
like if you qualify the scholarship and the university replies you after a little more time, then what happens?
Okay,
Is scholarship still valid for that or not?
So basically, when you just apply for any course, and so your question is like, the later date, right? Yeah. So scholarship date is until the 7th of November. That's the time you need to look at. The universities, they can apply later, so it doesn't really make a difference. Because by the time you appear for the interview, your application is sifted, you are successful, and you have been called for an interview. That's the time when you need to make sure that you have an unconditional offer from at least one of the universities. But the scholarship deadline is 7th November, which is the most important one. Universities, they can always come back to you until the last minute, which is the interviews happen in March, April time. That's the time when you need to have the unconditional offer.
Good afternoon. I have a question regarding the recommendation letter. I believe there is a requirement for that as well. So is there anything in particular that that Chevening Scholarship looks for in that recommendation letter, or it can be generated from any of your previous employers?
So you have to supply 2 reference letters when you're going through the application process, and those references can be either professional or academic. So that's the first point I think covered. And then the second point is what we're kind of looking through when you're doing the application, say the personal statement and some elements like why do you want to study in the UK. As I said before, everything's about leadership. This isn't a kind of free giveaway on, just to help you. It's about helping Pakistan long term. So you've got to remember when you're doing the application process, how is studying in the UK going to take you from where you are now, and of course what you're going to do, to where you're going to be in 10 years, and what impact is that going to have in Pakistan. Do you see what I mean? It's about looking to the future and the impact it will enable you to deliver the positive change later on. So you're going to be kind of threading that narrative through your application process.
Hi. Many degrees which are in arts become quite expensive because of the material that is used, like say fashion or sculpture or something like that. So is there something inbuilt for the material for the projects that student would do? Or so I get this Chevening scholarship, and will I be able to sort of acquire funding for a certain project material while getting the Chevening funding?
Okay, so the first time anyone's ever asked me that question. I'm not aware that you'd get anything additional to pay for material. Normally, we would expect the course to provide that for you, the art studios, etc., that you'd be in. So that should be covered already. But in terms of requiring extra funding, I know that there is a rule in place within Chevening that when you're in the UK, if you wanted to do some part-time work, you can work 20 hours during term time to accumulate more money if you need to. Obviously, we prefer you to be focused on your studies, and I don't think you'd have an issue with materials, because I think the university will provide that for you anyway. But some people question about they're doing internships in the UK, and that might give them a bit of money. So there's 20 hours put aside for you to be able to do that if necessary.
All right, thank you.
So I'll pass it to Rima for that one.
So basically, for accommodation, what happens is it's just for the undergrad students, the accommodation is provided at the university itself. So for the undergrad students, that's where it is provided. For masters, it's all over the place, but it's quite close by, or it's within the commuting distance. So the accommodation is not on the compound, but it could be just nearby. Yeah.
The other question is that can you give us some sort of, do you have any data on what are the categories of scholarships that have been given by Chevening in the last 3 to 4 years? Which areas are they in and what age group is it?
I could say with some certainty that 90%, from what I've seen over the last year, 90% are in either rural medicine or pharmacy related, overwhelmingly. That's the majority of applications that I go through. I haven't gone through specifically the data myself,
that having done the SIPs last year, it was predominant in those three areas.
So I can understand law, so they can go for a master's in law. How do they go for a master's in medicine?
So specific niche areas of medicine, so they might be looking at AI in medicine and things like that.
Okay. And also the third area?
And the pharmacy is very popular.
Pharmacy. But the determination by the Chevening Committee on who gets a scholarship is not based on the area of the subject area that a student has chosen.
No, it's not. We don't have any quotas. There's no specific bias. It's just that the majority of the applications that we receive were in those three areas. To be honest, you could argue that actually people doing more specialist or niche areas away from those three main ones stand out more because we're not looking at 1,000 similar applications. So there's something to be said about maybe not going down the mainstream route of the kind of traditional subjects and looking a little bit broader because it's easier to stand out.
So how much weightage is given in the selection process to what sort of work the person will do when they come back to Pakistan? Is that a significant part of it?
So obviously it's going to be related to the field that they want to go into, right? So even if someone, I mean, you can easily demonstrate if someone wants to go into politics, for example, they can probably make it an easier case of the impact that they want to achieve. However, you know, the British government and the High Commission, they look quite broadly across Pakistan, and they're not just thinking about politics, but actually, for example, fashion, business, things that create wealth, obviously incredibly important as well. So really it's just down to how you can demonstrate how using that study in the UK, when it comes back to Pakistan, how it's going to be useful for creating positive impact or change. It doesn't have to be kind of traditional subjects like politics. It can be a lot broader than that, but it's all about how you deliver change and expressing that. And then obviously when people are going through the SIFTs and they're going through the interviews, if people are taken back and think, well, that's a really innovative idea that we've never heard before, and that could actually produce something quite incredible here, and that person's going to clearly get to the top of that idea, then you'll be very competitive to get one of the places.
Well, I wanted to get some more clarity because, you know, we are speaking right here to an academic audience, and those who are not in teaching and research are all those in our community here at SZABIST that work in support of the academic programs or critical connected support services.
Yeah.
So their areas would be to come back and teach in a particular subject and or to work, let's say, in examinations or assessment or other related areas. Yeah. And they would not, this is not a development community. Most of them are not involved in having an impact out on a large population in the development area.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be. If it's changing the thought leadership in the academic sphere, then that's great. And we welcome that. And artists as well, we welcome that, because obviously that changes public perceptions and opinions, right?
So clearly they have an impact on thousands of lives.
Exactly, so that would be a very strong, compelling case if you could demonstrate the impact that you're going to have from your studies on changing thoughts and perceptions back in Pakistan through academic practice, then that would be a very good application. So we welcome that. So we're not just, this is why we do it for any subject possible, because we want to be as broad as possible in pushing people forward and getting them the future leaders of tomorrow. It doesn't matter what subject it's in, but if people, for example, let's say they've already got a master's degree and they want to pursue their academic interests further and they don't want to do another master's degree, for example, we do have PhDs on offer via the Commonwealth programme, and that's run from the British Council. So people can always look on the British Council website for Pakistan and see other pathways through in that as well.
When are the decisions made?
So if you submit on the 7th of November, an initial SIFT will take place in the UK, and then you'll do the interviews February, March, and then you'll be notified shortly after in April, May.
So anybody, well, an interested candidate would then anticipate being in the academic program in September, October of 2024.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Mukherjee, would you like to say a few words? Thank you. Good.
Well, Tom, thank you very much for this very informative presentations. just one little query, or rather two queries. One is that in several UK universities, the master program is not of exactly 1 year duration. Those are the extended programs like 1.5 years, somewhere 2 years master program. So your scholarship covers just 1 year master degree program, right?
The vast majority of master's degrees in the UK are 1 year.
Okay. So that is basically the MSc degree, not MS, right?
You do an MSc.
MSc,
or MA.
yeah. Okay. Second thing is, like 7th November is the deadline for submitting the applications. And you expect that the students would come up with some confirmed admission by February or March when you interview the candidates. So in submitting those applications to the universities, some universities ask for application fee or something like that. So that fee has to be covered by the individual candidates?
That's correct, yeah.
That's
By the
right.
individual candidate has to, I think about £50 to 60, 70
50 pounds, somewhere £100 as well.
Yeah, that has to be covered by the applicants, simply because 6,000 people applying, it would be impossible for
So
them.
if somebody applies 3-4 universities, so at least he can expect, he or she can expect to spend somewhere around £400-500.
Well, I mean, 3 universities, 3 courses is what they'll be applying for, but yes, the individual has to pick up the bill for that.
Because these days, you know, that there is a lot of disparity between these pound-rupees relations. You know.
Yeah,
So that is also one cost that has to be paid.
that is one cost that has to be paid, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, just wanted to make a last comment, when you were talking about the subjects. So if you go onto the Chevening website, it does ask you for, it could be any course, but if there's any course which you think it's not there, they do ask you that you can just write it to them and they can get back to you, because they look for all the subjects to be on the Chevening scholarship. Yeah, thank you.
Any more questions?
That's another question there.
I'd just like to clarify something. My understanding is you said your education field or whatever courses you studied need to be aligned. So does that reduce your chances if, let's say,
It's a preference that they're all aligned, because when you're doing your personal statement and you're doing the answers to the questions, for example, why do you want to study in the UK, if your courses are not aligned, you're not going to be able to bring a strong narrative to play, are you? So, for example, if you're applying for a geography master's degree, a business degree, and fine art degree, then that's quite a confusing spread of subjects. So the point is just to kind of focus in. So if you want to do psychology, for example, the degrees might be slightly different, but if the kind of broad theme is psychology, that is something that will strengthen the narrative of what you're trying to do, right? Because sometimes I do get applicants come forward and they've got 3 completely different degrees, and I don't understand what they're trying to achieve because it doesn't really align to their personal statement.
right, what about education and psychology, because they're closely connected?
I'd say you should narrow down further from that unless it was something to do specifically with psychology in education.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you so
Well, thank you very much, and 7th of November. Thanks a lot.
So we've left the leaflets for people to pick, especially on those from interview.
Thank you very much, audience today. I hope you're going to avail this opportunity, because I think it's a very great opportunity for all of you. So I think you should have to apply, as they have told you about the procedure and how you have to apply. If you have any questions in your mind regarding anything, you can always ask the people. I will take the email address, and then you can email and then you can ask. So thank you very much for being here with us.